Good day, everyone. Today I'm going to run through my favorite section of Lionel Trains. I'm going to do a quick synopsis of each of the smaller motorized units that Lionel produced, and I'm just going to do this in number order. So we're going to start off with the United States Army number 41 Switcher, which is a 242, and it was available from 1955 to 1957. I always liked this when I was first playing with my trains. It could pull a good 3 or 4 of the post-war cars. It was not a powerhouse, but it was just a neat little engine. So moving on, we'll move up to the number 42. Alright, so here we have the 42 Pittenary Arsenal. This is the rarer of the two of this style. This was only available in 1957 with the olive drab plastic, white handrails, 3-position E unit. With these, just as with the others, these were not as fragile, but you always want to make sure that you have all your window struts intact. That will devalue the item. It's a kind of a hard one to get. Number 42. Next we'll go into the handcar number 50. Alright, so here we have some variations of the 50 gang car. The 50 gang car was a staple for Lionel. It was made from 1954 all the way up to 1964. The earliest versions, the first 2 years, the horn was in the center location. After the first 2 years, the horn was moved to the right hand side, as you can see in these two guys. There were 6 known different kinds of variations, but some of them are so minor that we're just, I'm not going to go through all of those. But in the beginning years, the shaft that controlled the bumper action was a U-shaped, like we have in this one and this one. So it goes down and it goes up for where the bumper attaches. In the later years, they changed that and the bumper became an L-shaped one, and it just came out here at the top, and the bumper slid from the bottom up. Most of the cars had blue bumpers. The fine one with the gray bumpers is a premium item. Not that it's a great deal of money for a gang car, but that will increase the price markedly if you have the gray ones. Gray bumpers now, for the amount of time that's gone by, they're usually very rock hard and brittle, so you want to be careful with those and not really messing around with them. Things to keep in mind when you're looking for a perfect one are all of the levers present, and they also made a couple of different kind of guys. So there are some people where the arm is out, and there are other ones where the arm points down like this one. So those colors were a little bit different too. Sometimes they were blue, sometimes they were olive, like on this one. And a lot of play value in these. I think this is a kid's favorite. So we'll go ahead and clear this and run one around. Next in the lineup is the Navy Yard New York number 51 switcher in the blue color. This one was available from 56 to 57, and this one was usually, at least for me, was my favorite, and it seemed the more play wear you saw with these, the lighter the blue got. I don't know, I've seen the examples right out of the box that seem to be a much darker shade of the blue, but I guess if it's out a lot, maybe they lighten up. But this has always been one of my favorite little engines. There you go, the number 51. Hey, moving on. Here we have a number 52 fire car, which operated and was mechanically almost the same as the 50 gang car. It had the push bumper to change directions. The modifications of this car over time. When this car was first produced, it was supposed to have a blinking red light. But the bulbs were not ready, and they released the earlier models with a steady burning bulb. The issue with these cars is the bulb was actually held in place with a piece of foam, and over time that foam deteriorated and it let the bulb shift inside that motor housing, and as a result a lot of these you will find with melted plastic from the heat of the light bulb destroying the outer shell. This one here has the correct blinking bulb, and as it runs for a little while it starts doing its little blinking action. It's an interesting car. It's a smooth runner. If you're into all the Lionel stuff, this is, for me, ends up being a must-have. There you go. That's the number 52. And next is the number 53 Rio Grande snowplow, which again is the same base as the 51. But in the front they removed one of the guardrails and added a snowplow. This one here is probably one of the most famous factory errors. If you can see here, the A in Grand is backwards. They noticed it and corrected it. And if you find one that has Rio Grande and the A is not backwards, you can add anywhere from $150 to $200 to the price. That's how rare they are to find with the correct positioned A. So just a note, this one has not been serviced in a while, and I think you all can hear it. That is not running smooth at all. It definitely needs some lubrication and a little going through. These engines are very simple and easy to work on. I'll do that in an upcoming video, just how to properly maintain these units. Next up is the 54 ballast tamper. This was a neat little car. I also have a little bit of a sentimental attachment to this. This was one of my, besides the number 50 gang car, this was my first motorized unit. So when I was 8-10 years old, this was my option other than the 50 gang car. The 54 ballast tamper was available from 1958 to 1961. Then they dropped it. Brought it back for 1966, dropped it, and then came back again in 1968 and 69. It would have come with the track activator, which was nothing more than a metal arm that you could put on the track that would trip the transmission lever. And what that transmission lever did was switch between low gear and the ballast tamping function and high gear for speed. So this little unit had quite a bit of speed in high gear. So first with the ballast tamper. And just for time, I'll cut the video and bring it around. So this is top speed and low gear with the tamping. And then you could use the track trip or do it by hand and put it in high gear. That guy's so fast that he'll leave the track. Next up is the 55 tie ejector, which for me I thought was a pretty neat engineering feat, and it's a neat little car. There were two versions of this. This one also suffered from, I guess we'll call it heat stroke, where the heat would build up and melt the plastic housing. This is one of the earlier versions. It does not have an opening behind the man, but the later versions had a opening in the red plastic to let the heat escape to help with that heat problem. So again, this one had just average speed, and it had a transmission bar that would launch the railroad ties out of it. So what we'll do is I'll back it up and we'll run it. So I don't want to make a mess because obviously I don't have a place to stop the ties from going, but I'll turn that on and then we'll run it. Alright, here we go. So you can you get the idea. If I run that around, I'll be picking up sticks all the time, but that's how that guy worked. All right, here we go. We're running again. And some final notes on the tie ejector. This was available from 1957 to 1961, and Lionel was kind enough to make the ties themselves have flat sides, so when they were ejected, they didn't roll all over the place. Neat car. Some play value if your layout's on the floor, but if you have an established layout, it's kind of hard to run it, because if you don't have access to pick up all the ties, you usually don't run it. So this one ends up being a shelf queen. Move on to the next one. Now, the next three are some of the most high demand ones and carry kind of premium prices. This would be the cheaper of the three. They are very hard to find in good shape. Usually the white is all chipped up, and the same goes for the handrails. So Minneapolis and St. Louis, number 56 mine transport. It was only made in 1958. Again, it's the same operating and mold as the 51 and 53. Just the scarcity of being made for 1 year. I'll start a little debate for those who want to chime in. I mean, these are switchers. They're made to run in any direction. But from your point of view, which is the front? Is it the long end with the bell? Or is it the short end? Don't know. I'm going, for my taste, I'm going to go with this being the front. Just for a line of sight for the engineer, but you know, most locomotives have that long nose. Don't know. That's my 2 cents. Moving on. This one's the most desirable of the set. This is a 57 AEC. You know, you look at it and you say it's the cream and red. The reality is, for whatever reason, this train was made in 1959 and 1960, 2 years. It was following the space and radiation theme that Lionel had going on. This train originally, when it came, was white, and the plastic had an oxidation process that changed it to green anywhere the sunlight touched it. So if you break off the railings break off, under there will still be pure white plastic. So now we'll move on to another fun piece to have. We're going to go on to that number 58 snowplow. Alright, as stated, here's the number 58 snowplow, green. One side had the rotary snowplow attached to it. When the train goes around, the plow spins around. course, I already took my little survey from earlier, which is the front and which is the back. Yeah, I always kind of favored this being the front, but if that was the front, why is the snowplow on the back? So there's the argument for this end of the train being the front. So anyway, these are prototypically correct. I don't know if any of you have seen the old time things. These were actually on cabooses besides engines, so the snow would end up in here and it would get shot out of the way, out of the scoop located right in here. So it's a neat little train. Another one that's big on the list of desirability. Before we move on to the number 59 Minuteman, the snowplow was a 1959 and 60 availability. Sorry, 1959 through 61 the snowplow was available. The next one in the series was the Minuteman, and this was 1962 and 1963. So the U.S. Air Force got some notoriety here with the Armed Forces signature and the Minuteman logo. This also reused the mold from the Army and Pittenary earlier models that were where we all started. So they started with the 41 style and ended it here with the 59. Here we have the number 60 Lionel trolley. The trolley car was available from 1955 to 1958. There's numerous versions of this. This one has the blue lettering, some of the lettering is black, different color tops. Some are more red, some are more subdued like this one. Also some mold changes, again due to heat, where this one has a cutout here. Some of them don't have that. But it's similar to the operation of the gang car and the fire car. My personal notes on this car, well, if you didn't notice, when it changes direction, the antenna would change also. So my observations on this car, though, of all the motorized units, I've had a trolley line on most of my layouts, and rerun these at low speeds or fast speeds. These require regular maintenance if you want to maintain them in good operating condition. They definitely need more lubrication than the average piece that I found in my experience. The contacts get dirty, you know, from the arcing of changing different directions when the push bumper hits something. So just keep that in mind. They're a durable car. It's just they need to be taken apart and properly maintained. Next we have the 65 hand car. This is, to me, Lionel's most unreliable piece, and it's a neat one to look at, but running these cars is not all that easy. They do not run that well. There's lots of issues with these cars. If you're not aware of them, a lot of the times the plastic that the men were made from had a chemical reaction with the base where the feet would literally melt in to the yellow frame of the car, The men over time, these are reproduction men, the men over time lose their flexibility, and the less flexible they get, the more strain there is on the motor, so the more heat builds up, so you'll find these things melt away. When you get one that runs good, just be thankful you have for it, and I will run this for a short distance, but it's not one that I actually play with all that often. I'm going to turn it around and go the other way. And there you have it. I think I did it again before I move on to the 68 inspection car. The hand car was made from 1962 to 1966. Then came the number 68 executive inspection car, and that was available from 1958 to 1961. It was based on a 1958 DeSoto station wagon. The unique thing about this one is it has a two-position E unit that you would activate by turning the simulated light on top. A lot of play value from this. I grew up with this car also, and mine was all beat to smithereens. I think there was no bumper left on it, front or back, but it still got a lot of play value. Also on these cars, another one that does require regular maintenance. The motor in there drives a plastic gearing system that's kind of on a spindle, and that needs not lightweight oil, it needs like car lube, a thicker grease to make it run smooth and make sure the axles are oiled up on this one, and then it will be a smooth runner. Some of them are very jerky, and again, if you don't take care of these, heat will build up and cause you some motor issues. I'm going to throw this one up on the track just for a note. There was a prototype of these, and I think documented there were 2 or 3 of these in existence that were made for special people. It was never mass produced, not until the 90s, where they've made 2 more versions of the 68 inspection car. One was the light baby powdered blue, and they've also made this in a hot rod style with a black body with the flame decals along the side. And it's just a neat one. This one here, I turned the knob on top, so we got the 2-position E unit active on this one. In 1960, Lionel found a new superstructure for their 50 gang car and decided to make it a number 69 track maintenance car with a man riding around on the superstructure. Worked the same as the 50 gang car. Next up is one of Lionel's sleepers. This is a 520 electric GE 80-ton box cab. It was available from 1956 and 1957. It was a low-end unit, no frills, but this is actually prototypically correct for the real-life engine that was used, believe it or not, in Chile in the copper mines. It was actually an electric locomotive. It has a pantograph on top, and it came with a 3-position E unit. It did not have a light. Mine I altered because I did add a light bulb to it. Alright, the 3360 Lionel Lines Burrow Crane was available from 1956 and 1957. A lot of play value in this car, a lot of really unique engineering. Had an automatic reversing thing. You could make it work with a track trip. It also worked solo. It had a 3-position transmission. Right now it's locked in the center, so it could just freewheel and be towed by any engine. You could engage the spinning unit on the crane. You take it out, and then if you wanted to go down the track, you can manually index the cab just by spinning it. Then you can actually put it in gear. Again, if you had the track trip, it would trip this, and then you would go the other direction. Now, if you took it out of gear again, I'll go ahead and do that on this side, move the lever all the way around. Now when it spins, if you pick this lever up here, the hook would go up and down depending on which direction you had it running. So that's lowering it. And then we pick it up again and it would raise up the hook. So there's your barrow crane. That leaves us with one motorized unit left. Before we go on to the final unit, as far as the Cadillac goes, and some people classify, the 44 U.S. Navy and the 45 U.S. Marine missile launcher items were also considered motorized units and not locomotives. If you're interested in knowing all those features, I have a full video on those units in my military set expose, so they're available to look up if you so desire. The final motorized unit is the 3927 track cleaning car. That particular car was available from 1956 to 1960. It came with 2 canisters that were filled with track cleaning solution. Came with cotton swabs that you could store here in the center. The cotton swab would go in the holder. When you were cleaning track, you would wet the auger down here and you would put your cleaning fluid in this hole, and that would spin, go around the track, and theoretically this would dry the track. What most people end up doing is they just soak this guy down and you go around, and it does work. It's a neat little car, and it's a functional one. This is the on-off switch for the auger. So when that was off, you could tow it as a caboose or wherever you desire to do it. So there's my overall comprehensive review of all their motorized units. They're have their place in Lionel history. They're very neat. A lot of play value for smaller kids when you have children over playing with your layout. They're a safe bet because they most likely will not leave the track. So I hope you found this helpful. Please like the video and let me know your interests. Thank you.